Share my screen.
My voice is audible, Prabhu?
Yes, yes,
okay.
the voice is quite audible. It's good. So the webcast has started, Prabhu. So you can go and.
Okay.
Hare
Krishna. Thank you all for joining today's discourse at ISKCON of Silicon Valley online class. So we'll start with Jai Radha Madhava prayers, and then we will proceed on to the talk. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Navallabha Girvaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Shodhanandana Rajajanarandana Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan Radhe. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan Radhe. Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, 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 Jaya Mahaprabhu. Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha. Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Shila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Shila Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, 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 Jaya Gurudeva. Gurudeva, 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 Jaya Gurudeva. Hari 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 Bol. Hare Krishna Prabhu. So we can start the Mangala Charan periods. Om Ajnan Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Swajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Sindhu Dinabandhu Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kalpadrubhyascha Krupa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lingate Grim Yat Kripatam Hum Vande Shri Gurum Dinatham. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining today's Wednesday discourse at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Is the only online session that we have Wednesday. So today's topic, I chose to speak on the partial and the impartial nature of the Supreme Lord. Generally, if someone has a position of authority and he has some it's under him, the expectation, the general rule of expectation is that he should be partial. He should be impartial towards his subordinates. Right? You have a boss. Let's say in our current situation, we have everyone has a boss in their work, and they have the subordinates. And the expectation is that he should be equal in treatment to all his subordinates. Now, the boss may be impartial, or he may be partial towards some people. He might be impartial, but some of the people might think that he is partial. Although he is impartial, the perception is that some of the people might think he is partial. But he might be really, partial towards some people to give undue favor to those employees. So it depends, but the natural expectation is that the boss should be impartial in nature. Now, what to speak of the Supreme Lord? The Supreme Lord is the cause of all causes. He is the origin of all origins. He is Ishvara Parma Krishna, Sachitananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karna Karnam. The Supreme Lord is known by his name, Krishna, Govinda. He is the origin of, he is the source of all origin and cause of all causes. Now, it is also said in Bhagavad Gita that Pitaham Yasya Jagato Mata Data Pitamaha. He says, I am the father, the mother, the support, and the grandsire of the living entities or the whole of universe. Now, when the Supreme Lord is at that position, it is expected of him that he will be impartial to everyone, all the living entities, because he is the father. Just like a father is equal to all his children in treatment, just like that, the Supreme Lord is expected to be impartial to all the living entities. But is he really impartial, or is he partial? Or does some of the people think that even though he's impartial, maybe they perceive him as partial? So we will see who are the people who thinks him as a partial and who are the people who think him is as a impartial. So this is the topic of discussion for today. So I will try to speak some verses from Bhagavatam, 7th canto, and some verses from Bhagavad Gita. So let's start from, let me share my screen from canto 7. So let me know, Ashray Madhav Prabhu, if you can see my screen or not.
Prabhu, I can see your screen.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
So this chapter is titled as Supreme Lord is equal to everyone. Now the brief history or brief context of where this chapter is and what happened before this chapter or the canto. In 6th canto, there's a lot of activity that has happened. There is a story of Ajamil, how Ajamil reached his final destination, how he achieved the Supreme Lord. Then there is Narada Muni cursing Daksha because he had made all his sons as a devotees. Then there is story of Vrittasura. And then how the Supreme Lord helped Indra defeat Vrittasura. And then there is also Diti wanted to kill Indra because he caused Vishnu to kill her sons Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So she wanted to take revenge, but eventually she became the devotee because Kashyapa Muni, she asked the benediction from Kashyapa Muni to give her a son which can kill Indra, but he tricked her to do the devotional service, and she finally became a devotee of the Lord. Now the question here, the 7th canto, the first chapter starts with Parikshit Maharaj. So in the 6th canto, we have seen that the Lord favored Indra to kill Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. It was observed that because of that, the Diti wanted to take revenge on Indra. So Parikshit Maharaj is asking here, that he thinks that to him, it looks like he's partial towards demigods. So, but he is a devotee of the Lord. He knows that Supreme Lord is equal to everyone, but he has a slight doubt, why is he acting as, partial to the demigods? So that is the question that he asks. So let's go to this verse. Shri Rajo Vacha, Samha Priyashtuhud Brahman, Bhutanam Bhagwan Swayam, Indriya Shyarte Katam Daityan Avadit Vishwamo Yatha. King Parikshit inquired, my dear Brahmana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, being everyone's well-wisher, he is equal and extremely dear to everyone. How then did he become partial like a common man for the sake of Indra and thus kill Indra's enemies? How can a person equal to everyone be partial to some and inimicable toward others? So he had, raised a very valid question. Supreme Lord is, he is the father of all the living entities. How is he acting like a common man? When a common man acts, he, generally a common man, he is sometimes favorable to his friends and he has enmity and not, favorable to his enemies. But Supreme Lord being the Lord of all the entities, is the father of all the entities, how is he partial to Indra? So that is the question that he posed. So let's read the the translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita 9:29, we will go to that verse shortly. The Lord says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dvesho sthina priyaha. I am equal to everyone. No one is dear to me, nor is anyone my enemy. In the previous canto, however, it has been observed that the Lord sided with Indra by killing the demons on his account. Hata putra dithi shakra parshini grahena vishnuna. Therefore, Lord was clearly partial to Indra, although he is super soul in everyone's heart. The soul is extremely dear to everyone, and similarly, the super soul is also dear to everyone. Thus, there cannot be any fault action on the part of super soul. The Lord is always kind to all the living entities, irrespective of form and situation. Yet, he took the side of Indra, just like the ordinary friend. This was the subject of Parikshit Maharaj's inquiry. As a devotee of Lord Krishna, he knew very well that Krishna cannot be partial to anyone. But when he saw that Krishna acted as enemy of the demons, he was somewhat doubtful. Therefore, he posed this question to Sukadeva Goswami for a clear answer. A devotee cannot accept the Lord Vishnu as material qualification. Maharaj Parikshit knew perfectly well that Lord Vishnu, being transcendental, has nothing to do with material qualities. But to confirm his conviction, he wanted to hear from authority Sukadeva Goswami. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Samasya katham vaishmayam. Since the Lord is equally disposed toward everyone, how can he be partial? Priyasya katham ashureshu priti abhavaha. The Lord, being the super soul, is extremely dear to everyone. Why then should the Lord display unsympathetic behavior toward the asuras? How is this impartial? Shruhuts chakatham teshu ashau hardam. Since the Lord say that he is Shruhuddha sarva bhutanam, the well-wisher of all living entities, how could he act with partiality by killing demons? This question arose in the heart of Parikshit Maharaj, and therefore he inquired from Sukadeva Goswami. So here Parikshit Maharaj is a pure devotee of Supreme Lord. He clearly knows that the Supreme Lord, being transcendental, cannot be partial. But he has this doubt, but he is seeing that he is favoring demigods again and again. How is that he is favoring the demigods and he is killing the demons? And how is the killing of the demons impartial? So that is the question that he has. So let's go to this Bhagavad Gita verse and discuss on this verse. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshosti na priyaha e bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor I am partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also friend to him. So here Krishna is instructing Arjuna, and he is saying, Samoham sarva bhuteshu. Samoham, I am equally disposed. I am equal to everyone. Sarva bhuteshu, I am equal to everyone. Name dvesho, I don't have any enemy. Sthina priyaha, I am not dear to everyone. I am equal. But then there is a big but here, it's a paradoxical statement he is giving here. E bhajanti tumam bhaktya. That, but anyone who does the devotional service is friend in me, and I am also a friend to him. So the living entity, mamai vamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manasastin indriyani. It's Krishna says that all the living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Being. Mamai Vamsho, Jiva Loka, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. They are all my eternal fragments. But they have, are fallen in this conditioned life because of their senses. Now, in a pure constitutional position, the living entity is pure. But due to his false ego, due to his propensity to enjoy independently from Krishna, he has been awarded the material body to fulfill his desires in this material world. And he is bound, he is acting in this material world according to the modes of material nature. So there is Sattva Guna, Rajaguna, and Tamaguna, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. By doing these activities again and again, he is enjoying his fruits of results, and again he is getting binded in this material world. So thus he keeps on staying in this material world. Now, but the Supreme Lord, again, this material energy that he is under the influence of is nothing but, again, the energy of the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord says that Mahe Dakshena Prakriti Suyate Sa Characharam. This material nature is acting on my direction. This material energy is acting on my direction. So this is nothing but is Supreme Lord's energy, but is a inferior energy. Now, in this material nature, he is providing all the necessities. Through the material nature, he is providing all the necessities for the living entities to fulfill their desire and also to live in this material world. He is supplying sun, he is supplying air, he is supplying the food. He is supplying, the fulfillment to fulfill his desires. He is present in everyone's heart. He has been there, for so many lifetimes, for millions of years. He never gives up the living entity. So in that way, he is impartial. When he gives the sun, he is giving the sun to everyone. It's not that he is giving sun to only whoever is favorable to him, whoever is worshipping him. And he is also giving to people who are envious of him, who are who are atheist. So he is equally giving. He is giving the rain. He is giving the food. Even a worm in the soil is being supplied with the food materials for his existence. So he is supplying every living entity for all the necessities of his life, all the necessities that is needed for him, for the living entities to do their activities in this material world. So in that way, he is impartial. Just like a father, again, to his children, he supplies all the necessities that is required for them, and he treats them equally. So, but some the living entity might become envious of Supreme Lord, and they may blaspheme, or we will see later in the talk that some demons had blasphemed the Supreme Lord. But the Supreme Lord, it does not affect the Supreme Lord. He is at a transcendental platform, so it does not affect the Supreme Lord. But the living entity who is doing this activity, it affects him. He will be bound to the karmic reactions for his action, and he will go to hell because of those actions. So that is the impartial nature of the Supreme Lord. From the material's perspective, from the material nature, he supplies everyone with all the necessities needed for them to subsist in this material nature. Now, but he says, E bhajanti tu mam bhaktya, but those who do service in devotion to me, I am a friend in, I'm friend to him and he is friend to me. So now Krishna here is, Krishna as a living being is very sentient being, he is very reciprocal. Generally, as a living entity, when you have a personal relationship, there is a personal reciprocation. If someone reciprocates to you in loving nature, it's a general tendency to reciprocate back. So Krishna, as a supreme personality, he also reciprocates to the living entity. Ye ya mam parpandante tam satayya bhajamiham. As he surrenders unto him, he award him accordingly. So, Krishna sometimes he does not give the love of devotional service very easily. The doing of devotional service is very easy to do, but he is very restrictive in giving the loving devotional service to the living entities. He is very restrictive in giving that because he is bound to be the devotee of the devotees. He's bound by the love of the devotees. So he doesn't give that very easily. So just like Mother Yashoda bounds the little Krishna with the rope to a mortar, he gets bound. He is the fear personified. The fear personified fears him. But he is bound by the love of Mother Yashoda. How is that possible? It is only because of the loving devotional service that the devotees offer it to Lord Krishna, the unalloyed devotion service, without any mortification, without expectation of anything, that when the devotees do the service onto Lord Krishna, he gives, he reciprocates back. So in that way, he is reciprocal. He is impartial. The mercy of the Lord Krishna is there for everyone. Whoever does the devotional service, he awards it. So the mercy is there equally. So in that way, he is impartial. So, but he is very favorable to the living entities or to whoever does devotional service onto the Supreme Lord. Just as a teacher, when he gives, when he teaches the students, he gives, he teaches to them equally. He gives the equal lessons to everyone. But some of the students might be very inquisitive. They are very attentive. They ask questions, to the teacher. They follow very regularly. They meet him regularly. So naturally, the teacher gives more, favors or gives more importance to that student. But it doesn't mean that the rest of the students are not given the same reciprocity. It is up to the student. It is not because of the partial nature of the teacher. It is the student's reciprocation. Based on the student's reciprocation, the teacher is reciprocating in that nature, in that way. So it is not the partiality of the Supreme Lord. So let's go to the purport. Let's see what Srila Prabhupada says here. One may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone and no one is his special friend, then why does he take a special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination. It is natural. Any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has special interest in his own children. The Lord claims that every living entity in whatever form is his son, and so he provides everyone with the generous supply of the necessities of the life. The Lord claims that every living entity in whatever form is his son, and so he provides everyone with the generous supply of necessities of life. He is just like a cloud which pours rain all over, regardless of whether it falls on a rock or a land or a water. But for his devotees, he gives specific attention. Such devotees are mentioned here. They are always in Krishna consciousness, and therefore they are always transcendentally situated in Krishna. The very phrase Krishna consciousness suggests that those who are in such consciousness are living transcendentalists, situated in him. The Lord says here distinctly, they are in me. Naturally, as a result, the Lord is also in them. This is reciprocal. This also explains the words, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam stathaiva bhajameham. Whoever surrenders unto me proportionally, I take care of him. This transcendental reciprocation exists because both the Lord and the devotee are conscious. When a diamond is set in a golden ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified, and at the same time, the diamond is glorified. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter, and when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like a gold. The Lord is a diamond. And so this combination is very nice. Living entities in a pure state are called devotees. The Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotees. If a reciprocal relation is not present between the devotee and Lord, then there is no personalistic philosophy. In the impersonal philosophy, there is no reciprocation between the Supreme and the living entity. But in the personalist philosophy, there is. The example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from the desired tree, the Lord supplies. But here the explanation is more complete. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service to the Lord is not an activity of this material world. It is the part of the spiritual world where eternity, bliss, and the knowledge predominates. So Prabhupada gives a very nice example of a gold and a diamond. So the living entity and the Supreme Lord, that combination, he's saying is very nice. The gold, he's comparing the gold, living entity to the gold, and the Supreme Lord Krishna to the diamond. Also, Prabhupada is also bringing us a very valid point here of personal behavior. If you don't have a personal relationship with anything, if Krishna says, okay, he doesn't reciprocate, then the living entity will not feel anything, to relate to, that it becomes very inanimate, very stoic, like a stone-like, very hard, that relationship. If you don't have any relationship in this, even in this material world, any relationship between, father or a children, a wife or a husband, or between the friends, if there is no reciprocation of love, there is no rasa. There is no rasa in that relationship, and that when there is no rasa in that relationship, then that relationship will not last long. So he is bringing up a very nice point, and Krishna, as he is a supreme person, when a supreme person he's a supreme person, so he has to, he has to be reciprocate in a personal manner, right? So that is very natural, and and that is what he does, and that is what he is saying in this verse, that but whoever performs the devotional service is a friend to me, and the living entity also considers the Supreme Lord as friend. So let's go back to the Bhagavatam, right? Now we understood the impartial nature of the Lord in his material dealings of this in this material world, and also in a spiritual world as well. His mercy is there, but he reciprocates based depending on the behavior of the living entity. As he surrenders unto the Supreme Lord, he awards them accordingly. Now, one may think, so we will discuss about how the Supreme Lord, what is that nature of the Supreme Lord that makes him impartial, and also to the Parikshit Maharaj question, that how is that killing of the demon is impartial, and so we will discuss those points in the next part of our discussion. The second verse says, just let's go to the translation itself. Lord Vishnu himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is reservoir of all pleasure. Therefore, what benefit would he derive from siding with the demigods? What interest would he fulfill in this way? Since the Lord is transcendental, why should he fear the asuras, and how could he be envious of them? So Parikshit Maharaj is bringing up a very good point here. He is saying that the Supreme Lord is full of all pleasure. As we know, he is full of all the six opulences. What is, there is no need for him to, what is he expecting from them? There is no need. He is independent. There is, he is not dependent on anything. Why? So why is he siding from the demigods? What is his benefit? Why is he doing that? So how could he be envious of demons? He's killing them. Why could be he's so envious of them? So here Prabhupada says that there is a distinction between the spiritual and the material. All these dualities of this material world, like heat and cold, infamy and the famous the night and the day. So all these dualities of this material world is material. These dualities is because of the modes of material nature. These dualities does not exist in the spiritual platform. Krishna is transcendental. He is above these modes of material nature. So for Krishna, there is no good or bad. It is all auspiciousness. It's all good. There is no duality. Whatever duality that we see is because of our material vision. If you see through the lens of our material vision, we see these dualities. So, if you remove this lens of this material vision, then we could see that the Lord is impartial. So the people who are so if you draw a line of how much a living entity is affected by the modes of material nature, on, let's say, on the left side, he's like fully affected by the modes of material nature, and as he does his devotional service, he is getting purified, and he is getting less and less affected by these modes. And on the right extent, he becomes pure. He becomes fully purified, devoid of all material dualities, right? So Prabhupada here is saying that this partiality and impartiality is only because of the material vision. This does not, it does not belong to the spiritual realm. So here he says, everyone who deals with the Supreme Personality of Godhead gradually acquires the qualities of the Lord. The more one advances in spiritual consciousness, the less he is affected by the duality of material qualities. The Supreme Lord, therefore, must certainly be freed from these qualities. His enmity and friendship are external features presented by material energy. He is always transcendental. He is absolute, whether he kills or bestows his favor. So he is saying that there is no enmity or friendship. These are only the external features provided by this material energy. Then how do we understand that he's killing the demons? He's killing them. He's harming them. He's killing them. How can we then say that he is impartial to them, right? So we will see later why, how can we come to a conclusion that he is impartial to the demons as well. This is the question that, again, Parikshit Maharaj asked. He's doubtful. He has this great doubt in his mind. Oh, greatly fortunate and learned Brahmana, whether Narayana is partial or impartial has become a subject of great doubt. Kindly dispel my doubt with positive evidence that Narayana is always neutral and equal to everyone. So, here it's a very interesting point Parikshit Maharaj is saying. He knows that Narayana is neutral and equal to everyone because, the Parikshit Maharaj is a pure devotee of the Lord. He is at a transcendental state, so he's at the right extreme of that line that I was discussing. So he has achieved, the pure perfection. So he knows that the Narayana is always neutral and is equal to everyone, but he has got this doubt. And, and he is also asking for the benefit of the common man, that we get, to know how is he impartial to the demigods, right? So let's go to 6. So here, here it says, the Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is always transcendental to material qualities, and therefore he is called Nirguna. So here Sukadeva Goswami is now speaking, right? And therefore he is called Nirguna, or without qualities, because he is unborn. He does not have material body to be subjected to the attachment and hatred. Although Lord is always above material existence, through his spiritual potency, he appeared and acted like an ordinary human being, accepting duties and obligations, apparently like a conditioned soul. So here Prabhupada says, so attachment and detachment and obligation pertain to the material nature, which is the emanation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But whenever the Lord descends and acts in the material world, he does so in his spiritual position. So sometimes people, when Lord Krishna appears in this material world, he takes he appears as Krishna, the human form. But he does activity just like a common man. So a common man might get bewildered that how can, first of all, they get bewildered. He is a supreme Lord or not in the first place. And then, they get bewildered saying that, how he's acting like partially, he's killing demons. He is protecting the devotees. How is, he's acting partial. To them, it looks like he is partial. He is not impartial. So Prabhupada here says, the people who are under the modes of material nature and who don't believe in the Supreme Lord, who think that he is a common person, they are fools. And because of their imposition that he is an ordinary man, the Supreme Lord does not become ordinary. He is supreme, whether he is in this material world or the spiritual world. He comes to establish dharma. Whenever there is adharma, prominent adharma is happening, he comes to establish the principles of dharma, and also he comes to protect the devotees and annihilate the miscreants. But now the question is about the killing of these demons. How is that impartial? Okay, so we have some time. So here again, the next few verses, Sukadeva Goswami is talking about, he elaborates more about the modes of the material nature. He talks about the three gunas, the sattva guna, rajaguna, and tamoguna. He says that, everything that is happening in this material world is because of the because of three modes of material nature. Sometimes the mode of goodness is prominent. That means, the demigods will be victorious. And sometimes the demons are victorious. The mode of passion is prominent. And sometimes the tamaguna, the mode of ignorance is prominent. So this material world is going on like that, under the influence of the time. And the time is also the energy of the Supreme Lord. So he talks few verses like that based, he talks about the modes. But we will go to the 11th verse of this. O great King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller of the material and the spiritual energies, who is certainly the creator of entire cosmos, creates the time factor to allow the material energy and the living entity to act within the time limits of the time. Thus, the Supreme Personality is never under the time factor nor under the material energy. So here, the Goswami is talking about the time when the combination of the living entity, the modes of the material nature, in the presence of the time factor, the living entity gets the reactions for his activities, and he enjoys or suffers his results of this activity. But this is all happening under the within the time, under the effect of this time. So if you do an activity today, you might get an instant reaction sometimes. If the fan is rotating, and if you put your finger into the fan, that is the activity, and then you get hurt immediately. That's the instant reaction, for your activity. Sometimes the activity will take some time, maybe within this lifetime, maybe next lifetime, or sometimes you have to wait for millions of lifetimes. So but everything is happening within the boundary of this time. But Krishna is beyond this time. There is no bondage of time on him. So, and since there is no bondage of time, he is nirguna. He does not have any material qualities. He is above the material qualities and above the modes of this material nature. O king, this time factor enhances sattva guna. Thus, although the Supreme Lord is a controller, he favors the demigods who are mostly situated in sattva guna. Then demons who are influenced by tamaguna are annihilated. The Supreme Lord induces the time factor to act in different ways, but he is never partial. Rather, his activities are glorious. Therefore, he is called Urushrava. So here again, the time factor is being talked about. Here is saying it is not that the Supreme Lord is acting; it is actually the gunas. Whenever there is the sattva guna which is prominent, the demigods are victorious, and whenever there, demons are, whenever the tamoguna is prominent, the demons are victorious. But he is partial. He is letting the material energy do its work in an impartial manner. This material energy that he has created, he is very perfect. It is, like every activity that you do in this material world will have a reaction. Whether you do something good, you will get a good results, auspicious results, or whether you do act some kind of inauspicious activities, you will get some sinful reactions. But they're still in the realm of material world. After you experience the results of your good activities, they are over. You come back, and if there are you come back and you are again entangled in this material world. But the activities that the devotees do, the devotional service activities that the devotees do, are beyond this material nature. There are no reactions to your spiritual activities. It's only the spiritual benefit that you get, and the benefit is reciprocated by the Supreme Lord in awarding the devotional service unto you, unto the devotee, based on the intensity or based on the degree of his surrender unto the Supreme Lord. So now, as I was speaking, the line of the modes of the effects, the effects of the modes of material nature from left to right. Left being the living entities are completely in modes of material nature, and the right being that they are free from the complete nature. So the devotees, the people, the devotees or the living entities who are at the right extreme, who are beyond the modes of the material nature, they think Krishna as impartial. but the people who are on the left extreme or somewhere in the between, they might sometimes think is partial, sometimes think this is impartial, but the devotees in general think he is generally, they think the Supreme Lord is partial. Now the question comes, the ultimate question that we were waiting for, then why is that he kills demons, and how is the demons, he's impartial to the demons? So here Sukadeva Goswami gives the example of Shishupal. Shishupal was from his childhood, and as soon as he was born, he was envious of Krishna. He always, from his childhood all the way, 24/7, he always blasphemes Krishna. He's talking ill of Krishna. So he is so much in enmity. He was, expressing his, enmity in that way, of being so envious. But Shishupal and his brother Dantavakra, they were actually devotees. They were Jay and Vijay. They were the Dwarpals, the people who guard the entrance to the Vaikuntha. So they were the Dwarpal, but they were cursed by the Kumaras, and they had to take birth as demons in 3 lifetimes. So the first lifetime was in Satyuga. They were born as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, and in Treta Yuga they were born as Ravana and Kumbhakarna, and in Dwapar Yuga they were born as Shishupal and Dantavakra. When Shishupal, and he's describing about the situation where the Shishupal was killed. So Yudhishthir was organizing the Rajasuya Yajna. So he invited all the kings of this world. And, Shishupal was also there. And in presence of everyone, he started worshipping Lord Krishna. So no one objected except Shishupal. And he started blaspheming Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna, he had, given, certain time limit. And after that time limit, he said that, you can do as many mistakes within this limit. And after that, you will be killed. So he blasphemed and blasphemed, and he passed his quota of blasphemies. And then Krishna killed him and with Sudarshan Chakra. And the spiritual spark from his body came out and it merged with Krishna. Now, everyone saw that. All the Pandavas, all the, Duryodhan, the Bhishma, and all the kings of this world, they saw that the living, the soul of that Shishupal got merged into Krishna, and they were all wondering, and how is that possible? How is that he got the liberation? He got the liberation, and they were all perplexed, because even the very learned sages or transcendentalists, they strive for millions and millions of years, but they don't get liberation. How is that Shishupal, who is a demon, who is blaspheming, and he is, that he got to get this liberation? He got to merge this liberation. And the kind of liberation he got is the impersonal liberation. It is called Sayujya Mukti. So there are 6 kinds of liberation: Sayujya, Salokya, Sarupya, Samipya, and Sarshti. So Sayujya means merging into the impersonal Brahman. Devotees actually they don't aspire for any liberation, but this kind of liberation is not considered to be a pure a transcendental liberation. It's not a loving liberation. So Sayujya is impersonal liberation. That's what he got initially. Then there is a Salokya, the liberation where one goes to the same planet as the Supreme Lord. Then there is Sarupya, where the living entity gets the same form as the Supreme Lord. And then there is Samipya, where he gets to be an associate with a close associate of Krishna. And then Sarishti is he gets the same opulence as the Supreme Lord. So initially he got Sayujya, but after he got completely purified, he got both Salokya and Sarupya, that he went back to the Vaikuntha and he got the form. Now here he quotes a verse at 25, where he says that why he got the liberation, why he got liberation, even though he was talking ill of the Supreme Lord. And Parikshit Maharaj question before, a few verses back, he also questions that whereas Vena, there was another king who was also very envious of Supreme Lord, and he did not get the liberation. He went to hell. Why is it that Shishupal got the liberation, and why is that Vena went to hell? That was his question. And here, actually the next verse. So here it is said that, let's read the verse. Tasmat vaira bandena nirvairena bhainava snehat kamena vayunjat kathanchin nikshate pratak. Therefore, by enmity or by devotional service, by fear, by affection, or by lusty desire, by all of this or any one of them, if a conditioned soul somehow or the other concentrates his mind upon the Lord, the result is the same for the Lord because of his blissful position. He is never affected by enmity or friendship. So here, Sukadeva Goswami is giving us the reason why the Shishupal got liberation and why Vena did not get liberation. He is quoting that one can achieve the Supreme Lord either by devotional service, by fear, by affection. Okay, I missed it. Therefore, by enmity, he can achieve the Supreme Lord, by devotional service, by fear, by affection, and by lusty desire. By any one of these, one can achieve the Supreme Lord. Now, this is very interesting, right? So how can one do the enmity and can achieve the Supreme Lord? So here it is said that, so the intensity is so intense, the Shishupal was so intense in his enmity that he was always thinking of Krishna. But he was thinking in an envious manner. He was blaspheming 24/7. He was always thinking of Krishna. Now, but he was thinking in enmity. So Krishna, took the good part. He says that, okay, he is thinking of me, right? So he awarded the liberation to him. But this kind of thinking in enmity is not recommended. The favorable Anukulena Krishnanu. The favorable devotional service is recommended. Ankulena Krishnanu Shilanam. So, one might think that, okay, if he is doing enmity, I might also do, but this is, this is not a recommended manner. He might go to hell. There are many instances where we have seen Krishna also says that if he doesn't, do the devotional service, doesn't remember me in devotional service, he will go to hell. Here, Krishna is granting a special boon because the Vijay, they were the devotees of the Supreme Lord, and he was thinking all the time in enmity. He granted him the liberation. Whereas Vena, he did not think of Krishna in any one of these relation. He did not think in his enmity. He did not think in devotional service or fear, affection, or lusty desire. So he did not think in any one of these things, and then that's why he did not get the liberation. So here, by fear, Kamsa was under fear. He was always fear of Krishna. He was sending demons again and again to kill Krishna. He was very fearful, and he was thinking of Krishna in fear all the time. So he got liberation after he was killed. The gopis, the lusty desire of the gopis, this lusty desire is not in the material platform. Their desire was pure. Their only desire was to satisfy, how to satisfy Krishna. That is the example of gopis. So one might do this in this relationship, but one is actually not recommended to do this in enmity or fear. The recommended method is the devotional service. Now, how can we achieve the partial reciprocation of the Supreme Lord? Now, we as a practicing devotees, we might not, we might not be able to perform our devotional service properly. We might be mixed in our devotional service. But if we follow the great Vaishnava, or if we take shelter of a pure Vaishnava and render service unto them. Now, when we do render service onto the supreme Vaishnava, or the pure Vaishnava, that Vaishnava can put his petition to the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord is, he fulfills the desire of the pure devotees. He is so if some pure devotee put the petition in front of the Supreme Lord, then he might be favorable to us. Then he might, reciprocate, give that partial treatment to us. So we can, do our devotional service by surrendering unto surrendering unto our spiritual master. So it is considered as, there are three things that are considered to be needed for our devotional service to flourish. One is the seed. One is the practice, the devotional service. the watering part, and the other is the fertile land. These three things has to be needed for a tree to grow, right? A seed has to be potent. We need to have a fertile soil, and then the watering process has to be perfect. The seed, we get it through our from the spiritual master. And when we get the seed, and when we do the devotional service, we do the devotional service by watering, by hearing and chanting, and then we cultivate all the good qualities of humility, surrender, service, and make our land, our personality fertile. Then the bhakti will grow, and it will grow. It will reach the Goloka, and thus we can. And our hope and our desire is that somehow or other we surrender unto the exalted Vaishnavas, our spiritual master, and do some render service. And by that, we hope that we get some partial reciprocation from the Supreme Lord. That is our hope. Because the Krishna's words or the pure devotees' desire, Krishna fulfills. He never make them go in vain. Just like in Mahabharata, when Duryodhana wanted to, he was very intense about killing Pandavas. So he went to Bhishma Pitamaha saying that you are not fighting with your, great, you're not giving 100% of your effort to kill these Pandavas. You are very partial to them. And Bhishma, being Kshatriya, he was challenged, because for Kshatriya, this is it's an insult to, a finger point his fighting spirit. So Bhishma says, okay, I will, tomorrow I will kill Pandavas. I have these 5 arrows. I put all my potency into these 5 arrows, and I will kill Pandavas tomorrow. Then Duryodhana was satisfied, and he said, but he was, he said, okay, if there's something goes wrong between tonight and tomorrow, I will keep these arrows with me. So he takes the arrows with him. But Krishna is in everyone's heart. So he knew. So he asked Arjuna to go and ask Duryodhana to give these arrows. Because at one point, at one instance, Arjuna protected Duryodhana from Gandharvas. There was a fight between, Pandava and Gandharvas, and Arjuna interfered, and he protected Duryodhana. Duryodhana was very ashamed, but in his Kshatriya spirit, he said, ask some boon from me, Arjuna said, I will not ask now. I will ask sometime later, And then Krishna reminded about his boon, and he asked Arjuna to go to Duryodhana and asked his arrows. So Arjuna went and to Duryodhana, and Duryodhana, even though he was, he was very envious of Pandavas, and he was doing all, adharmic activities, but as a Kshatriya, he was bound, he was a Kshatriya, so he was bound to follow the Kshatriya rules. So he gave the arrows back to Arjuna. But Duryodhana went back to Bhishma, and he says that, okay, can you again, get 5 more arrows? And Bhishma says that, no, I cannot, because all my potency was in that 5 arrows. But he promised that tomorrow I will either kill Arjuna, or Krishna has to break his promise. And by taking a weapon and protecting Arjuna. So the next day, when Bhishma was fighting Arjuna, and Arjuna was about to get defeated. Arjuna was, he was not, there was a grandfather in, in his front, and he was, perplexed what to do. But Bhishma was fighting very ferociously, and then he was about to be, he fell down from the chariot, and the Krishna saw this. So even though Krishna took the promise that he will not take any weapon in this war, he broke the rule. I mean, in kind of, he did not break the rule, because he lifted the wheel and he charged towards Bhishma to protect Arjuna. So for the sake of Arjuna, he lifted the wheel, although he said that he had to, he will not lift any weapon. And Arjuna went, pleading with Krishna, saying that, oh my Lord, what are you doing? You promised, what will everyone say? That they will point fingers at you, that, you broke your promise. Don't do this. And at the same time, Bhishma was satisfied to see Krishna lifting the wheel, and he put his bow down. And, so Krishna did fulfill two of his pure devotees' desires. One is, by protecting Arjuna, he protected Arjuna, and another is he fulfilled the desire of Bhishma. Bhishma said that, either the Arjuna will be killed or he has to lift the weapon. And he made, he kind of, broke his promise just to satisfy the desire of his pure devotee, Bhishma. And in effect, I mean, he did not break his promise also, because the wheel is not considered as a weapon. So Krishna always is favorable to his pure devotees. If pure devotees puts the petition in front of Krishna, and Krishna will be obliged to fulfill the desire of the pure devotees. So again, our prayer and our desire and our hope is that somehow we, get the mercy of our spiritual master, our, a pure Vaishnava, so that, he puts our petition in front of the Supreme Lord, and thus get as a favorable reciprocal relation, reaction from the Supreme Lord. So I will end it's 8:30 right now, so I'll end my presentation here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If there are any questions, comments, please, we can open up right now.
Thank you, Sri Gopal Prabhu. Checked online. I'll check again. Don't see any questions or comments here. But I just like to add that it is a very wonderful topic and very controversial one, right? In the sense, whether because we always see that Lord Vishnu is always favoring demigods, right? With the Bali Maharaj and Vaman Dev, I mean, all the Dasa avatars, right? There he's favoring one after another. He's favoring the demigods, and so a normal person will think, oh yeah, he is favoring demigod, right? I mean, and killing the asuras. So yeah, so it's the for the devotees, they understand, because they reciprocate. Devotees, they love Krishna and they do devotional service. They have that affection towards Krishna. That is why they see that Krishna is reciprocating with them. Krishna is protecting them, right? So they that way they understand that it is the living entity's problem. It's not really the Supreme Lord's problem.
Yeah.
Like if we do devotional service, then he will reciprocate. He will protect us. And another point you said is for people like me, at least, who are in mixed devotional service, right? for people like us, we are doing our sadhana, is very important to be, I think somewhere in one of the purport, or maybe you mentioned that the patience is very important here. Because we don't have that kind of spiritual strength or special position to, become enemy of Krishna, or, do like Ragatmika Bhakti. We are not in that position. So we have to have a lot of patience and have faith in our spiritual master that he will put a petition to Krishna. So we have to probably take that route. That's a nice one you put there.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu, for your wonderful realizations and comments. One thing I wanted to tell is, Krishna, whether you praise or you blaspheme, he's not affected. If you praise in the material world, if you praise someone, then you get pleased, right? You get praise, and then you get elated, you get happy. If someone is praising, you get proud. But here, if someone offers prayers to Lord Krishna, it is he's happy that but he's not like he's becoming proud. Okay, he's offering a prayers to me, because I'm Supreme Lord. He's pleased that he's doing devotional service. But he's not affected. And whether if someone is blaspheming him, he's not getting angry or envy, So in that way, he is very impartial, he's very impartial, and he only wants a pure devotional service. He is always wants a pure devotional service. And that is what he is waiting for. He wants the love of the living entities, nothing else. He is hungry for that, and he wants that. And we as devotees, that's our goal and aim, is to somehow, get this love of the Supreme Lord.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. So if there are no other comments or questions.
Yeah, there are, I think, no questions there. So we are good.
Then we can end. Thank you, Ashram Madhava Prabhu. Thank you for your service again, week by week. The speakers change, but you don't miss. Every week the speakers change, but you don't miss. Thank you. And I express my gratitude to you. Thank you for this service, wonderful service. And our next program is Friday. We have Radhashtami celebrations in the temple. So please join. We will have in the morning from 4:30 a.m. till 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. and then in the evening 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. So please join us. Hope to see you all at the temple. And
Jai Sri Radhe.
Jai Vancha Kalpadrubhascha Krupa Sindhubhyo Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta
Gopal Prabhu ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. Hare Krishna.
We'll now close the session. Thank you for joining.